Shalom and welcome again to today's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm Rabbi Richard Address, your host. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us. As you know, these podcasts are designed to explore some of the issues related to our own aging, the implications of longevity to our families and our community. And again, we welcome your comments and suggestions. You can get them to me, Rabbi Address, at jewishsacredaging.com. And it is a pleasure to welcome a friend and a colleague, Rabbi Cheryl Weiner from Miami. Rabbi Weiner's official titles are Staff Chaplain and Community Rabbi for Mishkan Miami, the spiritual connection for the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, which is a lot to get on the T-shirt. But thank you, Cheryl, for joining us. How are you today? How are you doing?
Everything is going beautifully, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for asking
Well, thank
me.
you very much. You're multifaceted in your work in the Greater Miami area. One of the things I wanted to start right away, because really what intrigued me, and I got this from a conference that we were both attending back in January, is you're developing for the community in Miami a training program modeled around, if I'm not mistaken, visiting the sick in the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. So I'd like you to talk to me about what that is, how you developed it, what's going on with that. Just go ahead.
Refuat HaNefesh is a program that's been around for 11 years. It was initiated by Rabbi Fred Klein, and the curriculum was developed by him and Rabbi David Alpert. And in the last 10 years, we've revised it to incorporate more learning, and we now have 13 sessions that cover various topics that would be meaningful to people visiting people in need in the community. It's modeled after the concept of Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick, but primarily the people that we visit are people who need companionship and are not necessarily ill. And particularly during this period of COVID, we've been connecting with people who feel isolated, primarily seniors, within the Jewish population, within the Miami-Dade community.
How do you reach these people? How do these people get to know that Refuat HaNefesh is available and people are available? Is this advertised through the synagogues, through the Federation, all of the above?
We have established a very strong volunteer program. That's the second aspect of Refuat HaNefesh. And what we have done over the years is establish relationships with various organizations within the community. So we visit people in hospitals with hospice organizations such as Accent Care, which used to be Seasons, and Vitas, and Kindred, and Catholic Hospice. We also visit with people in assisted living facilities and nursing homes. The way that we get to those people, if we have a facility list, I call over the summer, the beginning of the year, and ask if there is a need for volunteers. And people will share with me who they might be interested in having visiting. And we also have a very significant relationship with the Jewish health system, our home for the aging, where people have offered art activities, Torah study, men's groups, and we work also with JCCs as needed. So it's an outreach that we make to the community, and synagogues often have programs like caring communities or chesed committees. And when someone in the program works with those, we offer that as their volunteer experiences. And if they belong to a synagogue, we encourage them to work with their clergy to establish those kind of programs. Also, Shiva organizations within a synagogue to visit with people who are bereaved.
Cheryl, how did you handle the pandemic when you couldn't make a lot of these personal visits? Was it phone? Um, Talk to me about that, because I'm sure that was a real major issue.
Well, most of our facilities would not allow
Right,
in-person
right,
visits.
right.
Some of them had Zoom capabilities or some kind of interaction mediated through technology, like FaceTime. But most of our elders were not technologically astute, or they didn't have the right equipment. So primarily we mediated through telephone calls. And we worked with the Greater Miami Jewish Federation has a volunteer center, and they received calls from people who they referred to us um, to help with the feeling of isolation and disconnection. We also worked with Jewish Community Services of Miami-Dade, and that organization has people who they regularly see, and they referred people to us. This became particularly important after Surfside over the summer, uh, where the Champlain Towers fell and many of our community were bereaved. And also many people in the community were traumatized by the event, even though they might not have been directly involved.
In the training program, these 13 sessions, and you mentioned Surfside. Um, I'm sure that there were texts involved, some of the texts that deal with Bikur Cholim. But what are some of the other sessions that made up these 13 sessions of training? And did they deal with some of the things like real trauma and that you were experiencing in Miami? What are some of these other sessions?
For the most part, the learning sessions revolve around Jewish life. So, and the way that our volunteers relate to their identity within the spectrum of Jewish identity. So we talk about the person you're visiting. We talk about who are you when you're visiting. The way that our program is organized is around the Jewish issues or topics that will help people in their visiting with others. And we work with people in terms of their knowledge. We meet them where they are. And we emphasize creating a spiritual toolkit for them to use, not just in the period of time that we're with them, but beyond that. So we start with, who are the people you're visiting? What is the spiritual nature of an elder or senior? And what is your relationship to them? And we emphasize that they are a friendly visitor, not a nurse, not a social worker, not a chaplain, but someone who is making contact. And we talk about the ways that you do that. Then we move into concepts of prayer, concepts of spontaneous prayer and blessing. We look at theories of suffering and the alleviation of suffering. We look at various modalities: music therapy, art therapy, narrative therapy, and how you can build tools in those areas that can work with people. We have a session on dementia and mental health. We have sessions on legacy and ethical wills. We also include a session on medical decision making related to death and dying. And we include a session on mourning rituals. So we go through the whole spectrum of what might be part of the experience of somebody who is an older person in the community. Perhaps they have someone who has dementia. Perhaps they have someone who has died in their community. All of those aspects feed into how people can relate to somebody they're volunteering with. It also gives people an understanding of the whole scope of Jewish text, Jewish law, Jewish tradition, and gives them a framework to operate out of to create this spiritual toolkit that they bring various aspects of our teaching to. And many of our volunteers offer us experiences that we include and add to the program as we move forward.
So, Cheryl, do you have a sense of the typical person taking the Refuat Nefesh curriculum, older, younger? Do you have a sense, or is it just multi-generational, just all over the place?
For the most part, our volunteer participants are people who have retired and have time and want to give back to the community. They come to us sometimes through advertising from the Federation. Sometimes it's word of mouth, and sometimes it's our output to the synagogues. However, most of our people or many of our people, I shouldn't say most, are members of a congregation, and some of them belong to a caring community. Although, for the most part, people come in almost like an introduction to Judaism program, and we have many people who are unaffiliated, and our younger people often come in because they have been caregiving to a parent, and they want to support themselves doing that, or the parent has died and they want to give back.
This curriculum is complex, very powerful. Is it portable? Have you exported it to other facilities around the United States?
No, we haven't done that officially. However, we've done presentations at Neshama, the Association for Jewish Chaplains, and we have just been doing some presentations with the Bikur Cholim conference from Kavod B'Nechum. And I have received inquiries from other people who are interested in implementing the program, and we give them full access to what they are interested in. Our materials, our print materials are online, so anybody can access them. Some of them are Creative Commons, so the copyright is open, but in general, our rule of thumb is that you can't use materials if you're charging people. So everything is free. We're supported by the Greater Miami Jewish Federation through Mishkan Miami. And we have wonderful donations that come in from former participants and others in the community, and we've had a couple of grants over the years.
So if somebody wanted to follow up with you, how would they contact you? What's the best email or website for somebody to contact you?
I put it in my bio. My email, CWEINERMH at AOL.com. It's CWeinerMH at AOL.com, and I will respond.
I want to just jump into another area right now of your expertise, because you do a lot of work in chaplaincy, you do a lot of work in this area, and the power of ritual. I know one of the most requested workshops that we do on Jewish sacred aging is on new rituals for new life stages. And I know you've been involved in some of this. What have you found in your chaplaincy, in your work with the Miami Jewish community? What have you seen an increase in involvement and the power of ritual, the need for ritual in somebody's life? Have you seen that? And if so, why?
What I've encouraged is ways of looking at our traditional rituals and making them personal. And I also teach a session on creative ritual. And I do that in the community as well. To answer your question, what we've had is a proliferation of healing services, in addition to the traditional Shabbat services. We've also seen some rituals that we created and get perpetuated on visiting a graveside. And we've been encouraging rituals associated with wise aging and with conversations that relate to end of life issues. In terms of creative ritual that I was exposed to in the Los Angeles and San Francisco areas, we have not adopted in the Miami area to the same extent. We're a little bit behind in that. And part of that is really working with our congregational leadership to help them understand how to create new rituals for their congregants. Now, some people have adopted material from Ritual Well, which is an organization, ritualwell.org, that relates to COVID. And some people have adopted or adapted prayers that are put out by the CCAR, not the CCAR, the URJ and the RA for consideration related to COVID. But most of that is prayer as opposed to new rituals. Now, some people are engaging in Torah yoga, and some people have offered Kabbalistic materials like singing bowls and um, various other meditation practices, but not creating a particular ritual around a particular event.
All right. So thank you very much. I mean, this has been very, very. I mean, I'm very hopeful that more and more people will contact you about the Refuah HaNefesh program. And again, real fast before we conclude, Cheryl, the contact information for you is, again, say it again.
CWeinerMH at AOL.com. And again, it's in my bio on your site.
All right. Cheryl, thank you very, very much. I appreciate this. Congratulations on this 13 years. You, how many years? 13 sessions. How many years you've been doing this?
We started in 2009. And I've been with the program since about 2012.
Okay. Continued good luck in Miami. I know you're very, very busy and much in demand and popular. And I thank you for enlightening us on this very, very interesting curriculum. So continued success with this, and continue to explore those ritual opportunities in the greater Miami area. So thank you very much. And to all of you, thank you very much again for joining us on today's edition of Secrets of Meaning, the TV show and podcast for Jewish Sacred Aging. If you'd like to make a tax-free donation to help support the work of these podcasts and the program, just go to the website, jewishsacredaging.com, and go down to the donate button. Again, if you'd like to comment or make suggestions for the program, email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. These programs are recorded at the Broadcast Center of Lubetkin Media Corporation in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and a shout out to our producer, Steve Lubetkin. Again, I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address, and I look forward to greeting you again on our next edition of Secrets of Meaning, the TV show and podcast for Jewish Sacred Aging. In the meantime, shalom, stay safe, everyone, stay healthy.